We live in a world where attention has become currency, where comparison has become habit, where people wake up and immediately look outside of themselves to decide how to feel inside. They check social media to see who is ahead, who is behind, who is applauding them, who is criticizing them, who is living the life they think they should have. And yet, nothing changes. They feel frustrated, distracted, tired, overwhelmed, and stuck. They ask why their life doesn't move forward, why they don't feel aligned, why clarity avoids them and peace escapes them. The answer is simple. They are spending their precious energy focusing on others instead of focusing on themselves. Every time you look outward for validation, approval, direction, or identity, you give your power away. You hand over the keys to your mind and say, "Tell me who I am, tell me if I am enough." You borrow your worth from the world and then wonder why it feels unstable. That is because anything borrowed can be taken away. Anything external is temporary. True power is internal. True identity is built within. The moment you stop measuring your value through someone else's life, you reclaim authority over your own. When you focus on others, you live in reactivity. You become emotionally entangled in situations that are not yours. You chase trends instead of truth. You mimic paths that were never meant for you. You waste energy trying to control or impress people who may not even see your vision or understand your purpose. And then you tell yourself you are exhausted, burnt out, stressed, disconnected. But you are not tired. Your energy is simply scattered everywhere except where it matters inside yourself. The world taught you to watch others, to judge others, to compare to others, to compete with others. But creation does not come from comparison. Innovation never comes from imitation. Personal transformation does not come from analyzing someone else's life. It comes from mastering your own. Your progress is not defined by someone else's timeline. Your purpose is not defined by someone else's path. Your peace is not defined by someone else's approval. When you realize this, you stop looking outward and you begin looking inward. That is the moment your life begins to shift. Focus is power, and where your focus goes, your energy flows. If your attention is always on others, their lives grow and yours remains still. But when you redirect that attention inward, when you become the observer of your own thoughts, your own emotions, your own habits, your own dreams, you initiate change. You activate the creator within. You become responsible for your reality instead of blaming circumstances or people. You understand that your future is shaped by your mind and your actions, not by the opinions of strangers or the success of someone else. The moment you decide to stop reacting and start creating, you will begin to feel your power return. You will feel peace replacing pressure, clarity replacing confusion, gratitude replacing jealousy. Because when you focus on yourself, you no longer operate from lack, you operate from possibility. You no longer chase validation, you generate self-belief. You no longer copy paths, you build your own. So ask yourself, when was the last time you truly focused on you, your growth, your healing, your dreams, your habits, your inner state? When was the last time you sat in silence instead of scrolling? When was the last time you listened to your own intuition instead of noise from the world? When was the last time you prioritized your inner peace over external attention? You deserve your focus. You deserve your attention. You deserve to build the life that belongs to you, not the life you think will impress others. When you learn to direct your energy inward, you become unstoppable. Because a person who is aligned with themselves does not compete. They do not compare. They do not chase. They create. They evolve. They attract. They rise from a place of wholeness, not emptiness. And that is the path to true freedom. Distraction is the modern disease. It steals more dreams than failure ever will. People can barely sit with themselves for even a few moments before reaching for something external to fill the silence. But silence is where transformation begins. That internal stillness is where you meet who you truly are. When you constantly chase stimulation, you disconnect from your inner world, and the world outside becomes louder than the world within. To focus on yourself is not selfish. It is essential. The greatest service you can offer humanity is to rise into your highest self. Because when you heal, you don't just heal yourself. You transform everyone who encounters you. When you grow, you inspire possibility. When you become conscious, you elevate the collective consciousness. The world doesn't need more people watching each other. It needs more people awakening to themselves. Focus is a discipline. It requires awareness. It requires practice. It requires a choice. Every day you choose what world you will feed. The external world that demands your attention, or the internal world that grows your potential. Every time you choose yourself, you strengthen the neural pathways of self-power. Every time you choose comparison, you strengthen the neural pathways of insecurity. This is not about motivation. It is about neuroscience. Your attention is literally shaping your brain. Your thoughts are wiring your identity. Your emotions are training your body to expect certain states. If your mind is always on other people's lives, your brain learns to live outside yourself. If your mind turns inward, your brain learns to build your life, your future, your vision, your mastery. You cannot rise while looking sideways. You cannot evolve while comparing paths. You cannot hear your calling while listening to noise. Turn inward. Feel the truth that lives inside you. Focus on your breath. Focus on your thoughts. Focus on your beliefs. Focus on your habits. Focus on the identity you are becoming. The external world will always distract you. The internal world will always guide you. One drains power, one builds power. There is a version of you waiting to be discovered. A mind that is clear, a heart that is peaceful, a purpose that is aligned, a body that is energized, a spirit that is connected. You meet that version not by watching others live their lives, but by consciously designing your own. The moment you choose to focus inward, you break the illusion that your worth depends on anyone else. You stop seeking permission. You stop waiting for validation. You stop asking the world who you are, and you decide for yourself. They told you to compete. They never told you to align. They taught you comparison. They never taught you awareness. So now, most people live externally motivated. They act because others are watching. They work because others will judge. They post to be seen. They achieve to be praised. They have forgotten the most important thing. True success is not what the world sees. It is what you feel when no one is watching. True fulfillment is not public. It is internal. You cannot outsource it. When your attention is on others, you live in scarcity. You see someone's success and believe it takes something from you. But when you focus on yourself, you understand that the universe is abundant and there is enough for everyone. You stop competing and begin creating. You stop chasing outcomes and start embodying vision. You stop reacting to the world and you start shaping it. The moment you stop comparing, you free your soul. The moment you stop judging others, your heart expands. The moment you stop worrying who notices you, you elevate into authenticity. And authenticity attracts everything imitation tries to chase. Your power is not in being better than someone else. It is in being better than who you were yesterday. You cannot build a future while living in someone else's reality. Your attention is your greatest currency. Invest it in yourself. Invest it in your healing. Invest it in your inner peace. When your inner world changes, your outer world follows, not the other way around. If you want clarity, silence the world. If you want peace, stop absorbing chaos. If you want confidence, stop seeking approval. If you want growth, stop comparing timelines. If you want power, stop giving your attention away. A focused mind is a liberated mind. A distracted mind is a trapped mind. When you discipline your focus, you master your destiny. Focus on building your mind. Focus on building your emotions. Focus on building your vision. Focus on becoming the person who no longer needs external validation because they are rooted in internal truth. You were not born to watch others live. You were born to expand consciousness, to unlock potential, to create, to rise, to evolve. Every moment you choose yourself, you step closer to that future. Every moment you give attention away, you delay it. Turn inward. Align with your breath. Align with your intention. Align with your highest self. Focus yourself, not others. That is the path to freedom, power, clarity, and transformation. When you master your focus, you master your life. We live in a time where attention is divided, scattered, and constantly pulled outward. The world is louder than it has ever been. Information floods your senses, opinions bombard your mind, and images of other people's lives compete for your emotional response. And somewhere in that noise, you forget yourself. You forget your power. You forget that your life is not created by watching others, but by knowing yourself deeply. When you give more attention to the outside world than to your inner world, you disconnect from the source of your creation. Every morning, millions of people wake up and reach for their phones before they reach for their own thoughts. They scroll through lives that are not theirs, emotions that are not theirs, dreams that are not theirs. They begin their day reacting to someone else's reality before building their own. And then they wonder why life feels unclear, why anxiety rises, why purpose feels distant. It is because their energy is being spent on everything outside and very little inside. The moment you look to others to determine how you should feel, you lose sovereignty over your emotional state. If someone celebrates, you feel behind. If someone criticizes, you feel doubt. If someone succeeds, you question your worth. And if someone fails, you feel temporary relief, as if life is a competition. That emotional dependence is not natural, it is learned. It comes from conditioning, from years of being told that success is measured publicly, that validation comes from approval, that your identity is shaped through comparison. But comparison is a thief. It steals clarity, confidence, creativity, and inner peace. It creates a mindset of not enough, not fast enough, not successful enough, not admired enough. And when the mind lives in not enough, the heart cannot feel gratitude, the body cannot relax, and the soul cannot expand. You cannot grow while believing you are lacking. You were not designed to measure your life by someone else's timeline. You were designed to grow from your own awareness, your own decisions, your own evolution. When you shift your gaze inward, something extraordinary happens. You begin to hear your own truth again. You remember your values, your dreams, your strengths, your inner voice. You begin to trust yourself more than circumstances and more than opinions. And that trust becomes the foundation for true transformation. Focus is not about avoiding the world. It is about reclaiming your energy from it. When you stop feeding your power to distractions, you begin feeding it to your purpose. When you stop comparing, you begin creating. When you stop observing others, you begin realizing who you are capable of becoming. You are not here to chase approval. You are here to embody authenticity. You are not here to mimic another life. You are here to build a life aligned with your soul. The greatest breakthroughs do not happen when you watch others. They happen when you return to yourself, see yourself clearly, and focus your energy where it truly matters, within. Distraction has quietly become the greatest barrier to human potential. People lose years, not days, caught in cycles of comparison, entertainment, and external noise. They feel busy, but they are not progressing. They feel stimulated, yet internally empty. Focus is the rare currency now, because most minds are trained to wander outward instead of turning inward. True growth begins when you recognize the cost of distraction, not simply in time, but in identity. Every time you give your attention to someone else's world, you disconnect from your own. You stop listening to the subtle inner signals, intuition, creative impulses, emotional intelligence, inner knowing. Those signals are the compass of your life. When drowned out by constant external noise, direction is lost. People do not feel lost because they lack opportunity. They feel lost because they are disconnected from themselves. To focus on yourself is not isolation, it is alignment. It means choosing to withdraw your awareness from the chaos long enough to hear your inner truth. It means creating space for clarity to emerge, space for healing to unfold, space for vision to form. Stillness is uncomfortable only because most have forgotten how powerful it is. In stillness, the mind reorganizes, the nervous system recalibrates, and the heart begins to speak again. It takes discipline to choose your inner world when the outer world constantly demands attention. But every act of focus is an act of power. When you choose silence over distraction, you strengthen your mind. When you choose presence over comparison, you strengthen your identity. When you choose intention over reaction, you reclaim authority over your life. Focus is not a single decision. It is a repeated act of self-ownership. Your brain is not fixed. It rewires according to where you direct your attention. If your focus is consumed by others, your brain becomes an observer of life, not a creator of it. If you redirect focus inward, your brain reorganizes around your personal growth, your emotional mastery, your future. Neural pathways of discipline form. Emotional resilience strengthens. Vision becomes clearer. This is not philosophy, it is biology. The mind shapes the brain, and attention shapes the mind. You cannot break patterns by watching someone else live consciously. Transformation happens only when you become aware of your own patterns, your thoughts, your behaviors, your triggers, your habits, your beliefs. Awareness is the foundation of change, and awareness only grows where attention is placed. When you focus inward, you become the scientist of your inner world, observing, understanding, and reshaping it. You are not here to be a spectator in life. You are here to participate consciously in your own evolution. Focusing on yourself does not remove you from the world, it elevates the way you move through it. A focused mind creates, a distracted mind reacts. A focused person becomes deliberate. A distracted person becomes conditioned. Your power returns the moment you choose where your attention goes instead of allowing the world to choose for you. When you decide that your inner world matters more than noise, comparison, and distraction, you shift from living unconsciously to living intentionally. That shift is the beginning of personal freedom, deep peace, and lasting transformation. From childhood, you were conditioned to look around rather than look within. You were praised for outperforming others, not for understanding yourself. The world taught you that being seen mattered more than being real, that winning mattered more than growing, that applause mattered more than authenticity. And so, without noticing, many become trapped in performance, living as a reflection of external standards rather than an expression of inner truth. But the truth is simple. No matter how much attention you gather, if you are disconnected from yourself, you will still feel empty. You can impress the world and still feel unfulfilled. You can be admired and still feel uncertain. You can achieve success by society's measure and still feel lost, because fulfillment is not external, it is internal alignment. You do not rise by becoming better than others. You rise by becoming the version of yourself that your soul recognizes as true. When your focus is on others, your nervous system stays in survival mode, constantly comparing, judging, protecting, and reacting. Survival thinking narrows your vision, closes your heart, and restricts your creativity. Expansion, true evolution, requires inner safety, inner awareness, and inner focus. When you stop competing with the world and start connecting with yourself, you shift out of survival and into creation. You are not meant to match someone else's pace. You are meant to honor your own rhythm. Every life is a unique timeline, shaped by unique lessons, unique gifts, and unique timing. Comparison blindfolds you to your own path. It tells you that success is a race when in truth, success is an awakening. And awakening happens at the speed of awareness, not the speed of achievement. When you stop looking outward, you begin to notice the subtle guidance that has always been present within you. The intuitive nudges, the moments of inspiration, the inner whisper that knows when something is right or wrong for your spirit. That guidance becomes louder when external noise fades. That voice becomes clearer when you stop seeking direction from outside and start trusting the intelligence within. There is a quiet power in those who no longer need to prove anything. They do not seek validation because they validate themselves. They do not chase approval because they approve of who they are becoming. They do not compete Because they are aligned, and alignment is more powerful than competition. Alignment creates flow, clarity, confidence, peace. Competition fueled by insecurity creates anxiety, doubt, and emotional exhaustion. When you stop monitoring others and start mastering yourself, you become a force. You rise not because someone else falls, but because you finally recognize your own potential. And when you live from that state, envy transforms into inspiration, judgment transforms into compassion, and fear transforms into possibility. The world does not change when you outperform others. The world changes when you outgrow who you used to be. The real victory is internal, when you reclaim your attention, your worth, and your identity from outside influences and return them to where they always belong, within your own consciousness. That is where transformation begins. That is where power lives. That is where you truly become unstoppable. You cannot build a future while your mind is trapped in someone else's world. Every time you observe, compare, react, judge, or analyze someone else's path, you spend your life force in a direction that brings you no return. Attention is energy, and energy is creation. When your energy is scattered across people, opinions, timelines, and external narratives, you do not have enough power left to construct the life you envision. A distracted mind does not manifest powerful outcomes. A divided heart does not birth true clarity. A scattered identity does not create aligned destiny. If you want to become the architect of your life, you must become intentional with your inner attention. When you turn inward, when you choose to invest your energy into your inner world, the shift begins. You start to feel grounded instead of overwhelmed. You start to think clearly instead of reacting emotionally. You start to make decisions based on intuition instead of fear. The world outside might be chaotic, but the world inside becomes organized. That inner order shapes your external reality. When your thoughts are focused, your behaviors naturally align. When your emotions are regulated, your actions become powerful. When your vision is clear, your path unfolds with direction. To focus inward means to build a sanctuary within yourself. It means taking responsibility for your state of being. It means choosing calm over chaos, clarity over confusion, intention over impulse. It means letting go of the illusion that fulfillment comes from outside. Fulfillment is not what you get, it is who you become. Success is not external achievement, it is internal alignment. When your inner world is strong, external circumstances cannot shake you. Understand something important. Inner focus is not disengagement from life, it is preparation for living it powerfully. When you withdraw from distraction, you are not abandoning the world. You are strengthening yourself to move through it consciously. You are no longer controlled by reactions. You are guided by purpose. You no longer chase attention, you move with intention. You no longer seek worth, you live from worth. A focused mind is a disciplined mind. A disciplined mind is a liberated mind. Liberation does not come from freedom in the external world. It comes from mastery of the internal one. When you learn to guide your attention, you learn to guide your entire reality. You become immune to noise because you know where you are going. You become resistant to distraction because you know who you are becoming. And you no longer need to watch others because you are deeply invested in elevating yourself. Give yourself the gift of presence. Sit with your thoughts. Observe your feelings. Notice your habits. Witness your reactions. This awareness is the foundation of transformation. The more you understand yourself, the easier it becomes to shape yourself. And the more you shape yourself, the more the world around you begins to rearrange in alignment with your inner state. You do not attract what you want. You attract who you are. Become intentional. Become focused. Become inwardly powerful. When your inner world is built with purpose, your outer world naturally rises to match it. There is no greater freedom than this alignment. There is no greater strength than inner mastery. And there is no greater transformation than reclaiming your attention and placing it where it always belonged, within. Focus on building your inner world, because the foundation of your life is not formed in the physical environment. It is formed in the unseen. Your thoughts create direction. Your emotions fuel action. Your beliefs shape identity. Your habits construct destiny. When you choose to focus on yourself, you are not withdrawing from life. You are consciously designing it. You are stepping into the role of creator instead of spectator. You stop reacting to environment and begin influencing it with your state of being. Most people try to change their lives by changing external conditions, jobs, relationships, surroundings, routines. But if the inner world stays the same, the outer world eventually reflects the same patterns again. True transformation begins from within. When you align your mind, heart, and energy with who you want to become, the universe responds. Opportunities appear, ideas flow, people align, and momentum builds. Not because luck changed, but because you changed your vibration, your awareness, your focus. To truly focus on yourself means to honor your own evolution. It means acknowledging the version of you that you are becoming and committing to that future with consistency, patience, and discipline. It means choosing growth over comfort, alignment over approval, purpose over distraction. This path requires self-reflection. It requires honesty. It requires courage to confront habits, beliefs, and emotional patterns that no longer serve the life you want to create. But every moment spent in that inner work becomes a brick in the foundation of your new reality. As you focus inward, you begin to cultivate emotional self-mastery. Instead of reacting out of old wounds or insecurities, you respond from awareness and stability. Instead of allowing anxiety to drive decisions, you choose clarity. Instead of letting past conditioning dictate your identity, you choose conscious belief. This is how inner power develops. Not through force, but through awareness and choice. A person who knows how to regulate their emotional state, direct their thoughts, and hold their vision steady is unstoppable, not because the world cooperates, but because they cooperate with themselves. External opinions no longer sway you when your inner truth is strong. Social comparison fades when self-acceptance rises. Competition dissolves when alignment emerges. You begin living by inner certainty rather than external validation. You learn to trust your intuition more than the noise around you. You realize that your energy is too precious to waste on distractions, drama, or environments that do not support your growth. And here is the paradox. When you stop chasing external validation, the world begins to notice you naturally, not because you sought attention, but because you embodied authenticity and presence. True influence does not come from seeking eyes, it comes from becoming someone others feel energy from. People are drawn to authenticity. They are inspired by inner strength. They respond to someone who is whole within themselves. You are not here to watch others live extraordinary lives. You are here to become the most extraordinary version of yourself. Focus yourself, not others. Build your mind, shape your emotions, strengthen your belief, expand your vision. Every day you choose yourself, you rise into a higher state of existence. And when the inner world becomes powerful, the outer world has no choice but to rise in reflection. This is how you transform. This is how you evolve. This is how you create a life that is not influenced by the world, but influential to it.